Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the amount of collateral damage or damage generally that the globalists are prepared to inflict on the Western world in order to implement the globalist projects. Now, I think we've reached a point now, it's probably been this way for at least since or maybe even it started 18 months ago, where the globalists and their flunkies in the media and the financial sector and the public service and so on decided, or certainly the decision makers decided, any price, any damage, any upheaval was worth it in pursuit of the globalist project. So it's the globalist project at all costs. Now, there's only one more step that the globalists can take in order to get their project implemented, and it's mass murder. That's the only step they've got left to go to. They pretty much have done everything else. They've undermined the rule of law. They've undermined due legal process. They've undermined every institution. They've undermined pretty much the entire media landscape, the fourth estate, and they've undermined any belief or integrity we have in the law and in democratic processes. So they arbitrarily arrest people, arbitrarily imprison them, arbitrarily keep them in prison for as long as they feel like it. They're pretty much using every weapon that they can, but in so doing, in using those devices and weapons, which they can only use by undermining the entire edifice that they want to take over. So they, in doing this, they've eroded all confidence and faith in our establishments, even in the voting process, for goodness sakes. And certainly in the law and its application, and activist courts, activist attorneys general, and the list simply goes on. A huge activist NGO class and activist international institutions such as the UN and the World Health Organization. So in order to get their way and to inflict the globalist project on a very unwilling populace, there's nothing in it for white people, absolutely nothing in it for white people. And if you're a straight white male, unless you're one in every 500 that'll be form the elite, there's you're going to have everything taken from you. They'll want to put you on the bottom of society because you're potentially the greatest threat to the globalist inflicted order. So in order to force the globalist project on the West, they've had to undermine pretty much every institution, or destroy it or subvert it, or all three. And so the collateral damage, or the damage that they're doing, is it's the effect of just leveling the landscape, not a tree left standing type effect. And they're more than prepared to do this. In fact, that I don't think they're even blinking an eye over. I don't think they're raising an eyebrow. It's just, hey, it's what we have to do to get the globalist project implemented, and we will do whatever it takes to get the globalist project implemented. Whatever we have to subvert, destroy, undermine, erode, denigrate, we will do. Nothing must be allowed to stand in our way. So when it comes to pesky things like elections, well, they've either got to undermine it, rig it, or delegitimize it. There's, those are their options. And if we look at the midterm congressionals coming up in the United States at the end of this year, then, it's only 4 or 5 months away or something now. They're already, they realize that they probably can't rig it. They realize that it's very unlikely they can win it. Now they'll probably have a go at anything, any subterfuge they can arrange. They'll have a go at and do their best in that, and even if it's to stem the tide of defeat. But already they'll be getting to Republican candidates that are likely to win and trying to compromise them Little waif-like girls will be, young women will be, he tried to rape me, and well, we'll keep this quiet, Billy Bob, but you better fucking vote the way we tell you. All those things will be going on as well. They will be trying every dirty trick in the book to keep the control that they need to implement the globalist project, no matter what the cost, no matter what the casualties. And they can sort of deperson people to the point where someone's got no public platform and where they're dragged through the courts and bankrupted from by using just constant litigation and harassment, and which not many people can withstand. I've seen people who've been subject to guerrilla warfare litigation by the state, which uses endless funds to pursue it. And it's you watch people that were otherwise comfortable, middle class, confident, high achiever, high accomplishment sort of people, and you watch them how they're crushed by the state, again using endless funds and constant harassment and stacked political courts and so on. So they can get at you if they want to. Now, if you're really rich, then you can fight back, and that's what terrifies them about Trump. They can't completely control him, even though he did a lot of what the globalists wanted while he was president. He didn't do all of it, and he didn't do it unquestioningly without any sort of demur. And so they've got to take out Trump. So the horror nightmare scenario for the globalists is that the Democrats get obliterated in the end of year congressional midterm elections at the end of this year, and that Trump gets up as president in 2024. Now, these are real likelihoods. These aren't remote possibilities. These are real likelihoods, and they're terrified of this because it's going to get in their way. Now, if they really think that's going to happen and really think that they can't subvert it or destroy it, that's when the trigger will be pulled on. I think it'll get to the point where they're openly prepared to commit. In my opinion, this is only my opinion. The globalists will openly be prepared to commit the most high-handed action imaginable, and this is, I think, part of the reason why they're equally desperate to disarm the population. Because once they go down that path of the high-handed action, which I'd say they've already wargamed, in my view at least. Now, once they go down that path, then that's they can't then come back. That will be the crossing of the Rubicon, to use the old Roman and Julius Caesar term there. That'll be when they can't go back anymore. They can't shrink back at that point. Now they can shrink back. Now they could restore merit. They could restore democracy, the rule of law. They could restore all those things now, but they'd have to give up a lot of the globalist project. They're simply not prepared to do that. So once they're convinced that they can't control the congressional midterms and that Trump will get up as a successful presidential candidate in 2024, very realistic possibilities, by the way, likely possibilities. Then once they're satisfied they can't subvert it or somehow fuck it up, that's when the Rubicon will be crossed, and that's when they're going to do the most high-handed things imaginable, and that's at the point where I think the triggers for civil war would come into play, and which is why they're desperate to get rid of the citizens' guns before then. Now, they don't care about the black gangsters and shooting the shit out of each other in downtown Chicago or something. They don't give a fuck about that. They give a fuck about the people that would oppose the political power that must be amassed and totally concentrated as part of that globalist implementation. Those are the people they fear. And the people they fear there are the upstanding citizens. People have never committed a crime. People wouldn't, under most circumstances, even dream of committing a crime. Parking tickets are the extent of their criminality. But those are people that think that democracy and the rule of law, due legal process, effective institutions, efficient, accountable government, those are people that think those things are important, the meritocracy and so on. Those people believe that those things are important, but that's exactly the thing that the globalists want to take away, and that they must take away if they're to successfully implement the globalist project. So I think that's where we're heading, and I think that's what's going to happen. And Now let's look at the other side of the coin. Let's suppose they're unsuccessful in stopping what they would see as the primary obstacles to the continued implementation of the globalist project. Then if they do shrink back at the brink, I don't think they will actually. I think they've just got too much invested in it, and that the way they've behaved so far suggests that they will accept any collateral damage in getting the globalist project implemented. Then, but on the other side, if say the Democrats get wiped out and pro-globalist candidates get the metaphorical ballot box shit kicked out of them in the midterms, and Trump gets up, and say in a super nightmare scenario, Trump gets up with Ron DeSantis as the VP or something. And Trump steps down after 2 or 3 years, then DeSantis has 2 terms in the White House. So they'd have 12 fucking years of anti-globalist folks in the White House. They'll be waking up at night screaming, the globalists will, over that possibility, but they'll do anything to stop it, and I think that's where the rubber's going to meet the road, in terms of they have to then roll the dice if they're going to continue with the globalist project. If they fear that and then believe it's going to happen, they'll have to roll the dice at that point, and just hope they can win through, and they won't give a fuck about the collateral damage that they inflict or that will be inflicted. And they'll take an attitude, if we can't have it, you're not going to fucking have it, and whatever's going to be left isn't going to be worth shit. And I think they're that childish and spiteful to do that. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.